Is Meghan Markle in a lose-lose scenario, no matter if she is even trying to be her bestest self and give back to her community? Somehow it always seems to get twisted into the most negative light. That is actually a very interesting question because I am, of course, very much have been a critic of Meghan Markle. But you do have to wonder sometimes, can she ever do anything right? And I think there's actually an article in The Independent by Tessa Dunlop that actually completely and utterly encapsulates why Meghan can never do anything right. And it goes back to 5 years ago and Mexit. Her decision there has clouded and shadowed the rest of her life, probably. And she will probably never be fully trusted by the public. And that, of course, is Meghan Markle's own doing. But she is absolutely being roasted across the internet. Harry actually even is not even that focused on. Really, all the ire is on Meghan. And I think there's some very specific reasons why. And I think if Meghan had made some different decisions in her life, I think she'd actually be a much more respected person. But she has made herself simply, I guess you could almost call it the bane of the existence of most of America, the world, I guess. So she has to deal with the consequences of that. And I think it's a great lesson to us all is that your actions, your decisions have consequences. And no matter what you think you're doing, and no matter how you think you're being perceived, if people aren't perceiving you that way, there's a problem and it's sort of your job to fix it. So we are going to explore this very nuanced topic today because I love this. I don't want to just go over all the articles that drag her, although we'll talk about a couple. I want to get into some more interesting, in depth aspects to this because I feel like that gives us a bit more of a grain of understanding, not only about her, but of ourselves as well. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany and I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. I also have a royal fashion news, and today we did a very special edition of the Crown Report talking about Princess Catherine's return to royal duties very slowly. She actually did a very special visit to the Royal Marsden where she talked to patients and shared a bit more about her own cancer journey, even confirming that she actually had to have a port inserted so she could receive her chemotherapy treatments. We got a couple other details we haven't heard before. So if you guys are interested in that, I will post it very soon on the Crown Report, which I will link up above here, which will be linked down below. It's a new channel I'm starting. I might just experiment with it a little bit, taking bits from the Crown Report and also offering some maybe new things as well. So if you guys are interested in more royal news from across Europe, go ahead and check that out. All right. So Meghan Markle didn't come out of her little PR stunt unscathed. And I will say again, Meghan Markle and Harry could have 100% been there just to help people. Not saying that's not a possibility. Didn't call the media or anything. However, when you have your masks on most of the day and then take your masks off right in full view of a news crew, it looks like a publicity stunt. It sort of looks like a publicity stunt, and you can't totally get away from that. And of course, I think something that will stick to them to their graves, including the term of grifters, is now going to be disaster tourists, as they were labeled by Justine Bateman, who is sort of taking, you could say, a different view of Hollywood post the election of Donald Trump. She's kind of like, screw it. The whole industry sucks. Let's look at the things that aren't working. And she definitely went off on Harry and Meghan. And now, what I love about somebody like Justine Bateman talking about Harry and Meghan is that she doesn't follow royalty. I love it when people who don't follow royals see something Harry and Meghan are doing and think the same thing I am because they don't have the background, but they're just seeing this going, this smells like a publicity stunt. This feels like a publicity stunt. Meghan looks like she has no clue what she's doing and just meandering around trying to find a camera or something or somebody to hug because she's a stage 4 hugger. So people just, they see this and they get it. And that's just for somebody like me who criticizes Harry and Meghan and who gets criticized for criticizing Harry and Meghan. When other people point it out, it just like feels like, oh, okay, so everything's okay. Because other people who aren't following this see the same things I am. So let's look at Justine's statement here. She says, she calls Meghan Markle first and Harry are no better than ambulance chasers. What a repulsive photo op they achieved. They are touring the damage. Are they politicians now? They don't live here. They are tourists, disaster tourists. And she's not wrong. She's not wrong because Harry and Meghan don't live inside Los Angeles. Yes, Meghan grew up there, but she doesn't live in Los Angeles. And they got toured around disaster sites, other people's homes, so that they could feel the devastation. It's so self obsessed, really. And they have the Archwell Foundation, but this is a small operation. It's not Elon Musk. They can't help at that level. They can't help at the Paris Hilton level. They don't have that level of cash. So they are very much bit players here. And they took off their masks fully in front of a news coverage when they probably could have found a quiet place away from the news coverage in order to have their final goodbyes. So people see this, and Justine, she's in the Hollywood industry. She is not fooled by this because she's probably seen this 1,000 times with other people in Hollywood. And she's looking at that going, yeah, I see you. I know exactly what you're doing. And that's the thing. Meghan can't totally get away from the Hollywood image, in part because not only was she a Hollywood actress, but she abandoned the royal family to go back to Hollywood. When you do something like that, you can never get away from the stigma, you could say, of the Hollywood industry. Now, whether that's good or bad, who knows? But I think Meghan Markle drags this idea that people have that Hollywood people are only ever in it for the money. So let's look at something else here. This is another article. This is from Spiked. Meghan and Harry are the last thing LA needs right now. The Sussexes' performative compassion is as unbearable as ever. The article begins, haven't the poor people of Los Angeles suffered enough? This is from my Twitter. You should follow it if you haven't. Imagine losing everything in the incomprehensibly devastating wildfires, only to find yourself in the background of the latest photo op by Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Yikes, they should have donated and stayed home. That is my assessment. And I still think that's true. They should have donated and stayed home. Let's look at some more. So this is from Andrew Lawrence, who's the comedian. He said, if my house was on fire and this woman turned up, I'd run back inside and lock the door. We also have this from the Babylon Bee. Meghan proudly announces that Harry has, of his own free will, which is kind of a play off of the fact that we know Harry probably doesn't have his own free will decide to transition to Princess Harriet. That is hysterical. That is absolutely hysterical. And of course, Harry and Meghan were offended by all this. We don't care. We'll go into that article, though, in a second, but let's look at some of these others. Toronto Sun, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle ripped for repulsive photo op during LA wildfires. Yeah, they've had a really crappy 2025 so far. It's probably not going to get any better, to be honest. Megyn Kelly also goes off on the two of them, so let's listen to a little bit of this.
Meghan and Harry, these absolute cretins, decide to inject themselves into the devastation in Los Angeles for one reason: to get their faces back on camera and to improve their image. They want people to think well of
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
them. So they decide, what they really need? Us. What they need is us. And honestly, Stu, you go there, you don't make a mention. No, you don't get caught on camera. Nobody knows what you did.
So I don't know about the other gentleman, but apparently he did something and so he was able to do it incognito, which is possible. They would have been fine without this. I think they would have been so much better if they didn't perform in front of the camera for 5 minutes, because we all know this is part of the performance. There was a way to do this in a private setting, but they did it publicly with the masks off, and they alerted the media. So they're not fooling anyone.
That maybe that's one thing, although with these two, no. But no, they made sure that they got on camera. They made sure that their names got in the press. And that was the name of the game. First of all, I got one other thing. When you're actually a member of the royal family, Harry and the British population,
she's going to give them a little bit of truth knowledge here.
Answers to you, sort of, they're your subjects. Maybe they do need to see you during times of tragedy. You're in America now, and we don't give a about you. You're not our prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife.
Oh, it's such a good rant. It's such a good rant. Oh, man. Yeah. Nobody likes Meghan Markle. Really, nobody likes Meghan Markle.
Stay at home in your $29 million mansion. All right. Stop getting off on the trauma porn of real suffering in Los Angeles. It's ridiculous. It's offensive. And don't take my word for it. Go and follow the XV.
So, yeah, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. And again, Megyn Kelly has been following this, I would say, a bit more than most people. But again, it's this thing where Megyn has offended a lot of people. And I don't think she quite understands how she did this. So no matter what she does, she never does anything right. But again, this is her fault. I firmly put this at the feet of Megyn. And again, let's keep going here. And just as a counterexample, we do have Elon Musk here donating Cybertrucks and Teslas and things as battery packs and other things. And so I think that gentleman right there is Elon Musk. Now, why does this matter? Because you can do things quietly. And he actually has an infrastructure to help people, which is multi-billion-dollar corporations that have actually produced products that the world needs. Virtual has not done any of that. Harry and Meghan can't even get a documentary together that's halfway decent. The Babylon Bee, bringing back the joy again, said Los Angeles saved after Meghan Markle arrives to stand around wearing a baseball cap. Saving the world one baseball cap and donut at a time. That's in the case of Harry. He got a man a donut. Bravo, Harry. Bravo. Now, that's nice. But do we care? No. This is interesting. This person who I shared their original post, they have either deleted it or blocked me or something. Interesting. Because they shared the address of the home Harry and Meghan visited, which is so incredibly inappropriate. Link Lauren said, yippee, the people of California have suffered enough recently. They don't need to see Duchess of Scamalot baking in her rented mansion with $80,000 worth of jewelry on. Yep. But Harry and Meghan, of course, they are not happy by any of this because they are very upset that they have been called disaster tourists. According to a source, it's offensive to Meghan and Harry that anybody would think this is merely a photo opportunity. The pair live approximately 90 miles north of the city, so quite far away. Meghan was born and raised in Los Angeles, so this is and will always be home to her, but she doesn't live there, and she could live there. According to Insider, Meghan is not just a tourist, and her heart is completely broken for all the lives that have been lost and for those homes who have been destroyed in these fires. Harry and Meghan are invested significant time and resources. They've donated money and essential items. So sort of justifying everything. It doesn't really matter if you donate items. I mean, that's nice, but that's not the issue they're having. They have also dedicated countless hours to volunteering long before the media caught wind of their involvement. Like this when these pictures were taken, the event had happened days ago, like days. So you can't have donated countless hours if it literally just happened a couple of days ago. That's the one thing about Harry and Meghan. And so you could almost say this is a source from Meghan directly, telling somebody directly, because Meghan inflates things to the point of absurdity, which makes them less believable. One of the great things you can do is keep things simple. Writing. Meghan can't be simple in her writing. She has to overly flourish things, which actually makes her writing, I think, less potent because she has to put all these flowery words and everything into it. So it actually loses its emphasis because of that. You also have the way they give speeches or even press statements. Their paparazzi chase, they inflated things to the point of absurdity and nobody really believed them. You know, it was almost near catastrophic car chase or whatever the heck they used to describe it. You exaggerate things to such an extent that people don't believe you because you've overdone it. The same thing here. You can't have dedicated countless hours because literally there have not been countless hours to donate yet or volunteer yet. So, yeah. And then, of course, Meghan is very sensitive to all this criticism because she had to respond in People magazine. And again, I say Meghan because the way things happen anymore is that pretty much the PR people of Meghan and Harry go directly to People magazine. And this is like true across the board with most celebrities. They go directly to People. So this came from them directly to People. And so she says in regards to the delay of her show, I don't think she could imagine putting out a show centered on joy and hosting when so many people in her home state no longer have homes to host people in. Well, what about the people of North Carolina, Meghan Markle? See, the problem is when you're so focused on a certain piece of geography, if something happens somewhere else and you don't seem to care, sort of the logic of your decisions kind of wane a bit. And yes, this happened in California, which I think was a big chunk of the market she was hoping to capture. And now most of them don't care. But now she's also offended a bunch of people by doing her publicity stunt. So in response, because there's obviously been a lot of critics and stuff, and Meghan is fully aware of that, and so is her team. And so she's trying to clap back in the press in the lamest way possible. Delaying the release of With Love Meghan was likely an easy decision for her. I don't think she could imagine putting out a show centered on joy and hosting when so many people in her home state no longer have homes to host people in. You could also think of it as escapism. Like, I still try to make videos as much as possible, even when dark stuff are going around, in part because it gives people a little bit of escape every once in a while. If you laugh, if this makes you laugh, if this makes you forget about the troubles at home for 5 minutes and you can kind of reset your brain, hey, I'm perfectly fine with that. That sounds great to me. Goes on to say, I think it's sad that critics are saying she's only doing this to avoid the fires overshadowing her show. We're all human and we're all dealing with a catastrophe. We're not all dealing with a catastrophe. It's only local. And yes, obviously, I feel a bit of it because I have lived in California, but I don't live there now. So I'm going to keep producing videos because not everybody in LA has been affected. And LA is not the center of the universe. Like, the danger there is you're basically insinuating LA is the center of the universe. And it's not. The world continues to turn, the world goes on. Sometimes things just need to go forwards. And you're basically saying the quiet part out loud. When you're disputing something, you're essentially saying that that is sort of the reason why you're doing it, because you're sensitive to the fact that people are saying that's the reason why you're doing it. Best thing is just to almost leave it alone. But I think she's also sensitive that she's gotten massive criticism and she's freaking out. And then they have to clap back at allegations that their visit was only 17 minutes, saying, contrary to some reports that their visit was brief, Harry and Meghan dedicated an entire day to volunteering in Pasadena, where they focused on discreetly supporting wildfire relief efforts, hearing both harrowing stories and witnessing the community spirit of a community they don't live in. They donated essential supplies, served meals with World Central Kitchen, a longtime partner of the Archwell Foundation, and spent time with families and elderly individuals. Aw, ain't that sweet. Sorry. I say that, and I'm sort of, you could say, embracing some cynicism. But I think Meghan has deserved this. And this all comes down to a couple of things. Now, I'll get to the independent article at the end, which I think is so incredibly important. That is so incredibly important because it really does explain absolutely everything pretty much. And I think it's actually incredibly good. But what I will say to Harry and Meghan, I know they actually probably do listen to this, to be quite honest. Maybe they don't. I would imagine they do, or somebody on their team does. But the problem Harry and Meghan have is that they want to do things and believe people should perceive them a certain way, but people aren't perceiving them a certain way. Communication strategy, essentially 101, is if people are perceiving the wrong thing and you're the one who's sending out the message, you're wrong. If the whole world basically is seeing you as disaster tourists, you don't think you did that. Maybe you weren't even doing that. But the whole world perceives that as there's something wrong with your communication strategy, both short term and long term, and that is on you. That is on you. You have created that scenario. And yes, some of it might be unfair. I will admit that. But that is on them. That is on them. Because if I'm perceiving something, or if basically everybody's perceiving the same thing, then something is going wrong in how they are portraying themselves to the world. And I think, again, this independent article actually sums it up perfectly. I was really surprised when I read this and I was like, wow, this is so right. And I feel like I've said similar things, but this is worded a lot better. And this is actually from Tessa Dunlop. And she nails it. I think she really does here. And I know a lot of people have issues with Tessa. But here's the thing, guys, and I've always been like this, is that people are nuanced. Their opinions can change. And sometimes people from the outside, or people you think maybe aren't on your side, they can actually identify something you can't. And so I am open to hearing all sides for the most part, except for the people who say that nobody likes Meghan because of the color of her skin, because that's completely wrong. But she is totally right here. Meghan screwed herself. Meghan 100% screwed herself. And she screwed herself 5 years ago with Mexit. Yes, there have been a series of decisions since then, but it was Mexit that killed her reputation and continues to kill it. It will probably always be a burden on her public image unless she can rehabilitate it. And it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take decisions Meghan Markle doesn't want to make, because Meghan Markle is fully dedicated to brand Sussex and basically making money. And that's what has killed her brand. So it says handing out supplies and going on a morale boosting walkabouts in the districts affected by the LA wildfires has seen Meghan being branded as a disaster tourist. She has no one but herself to blame. She does not. Who takes a closer look at why Meghan has made a habit of terrible timing at the best and worst of times. This article, again, is really good because it says once more the Sussexes are darned if they do and darned if they don't. 100%. I would agree with that. So it talks about the relief efforts. To no avail, their visit has been met with predictable vitriol. Well-known faces joined in the communal sneer against the couple, led by Justine Bateman, who derided Harry and Meghan as disaster tourists, accusing them of touring the damage for a repulsive photo op. No matter that Meghan grew up in Los Angeles, only lives 90 miles away, Princess Markle has been castigated for being no better than an ambulance chaser in a city where she doesn't live. Ouch. This eye-watering stuff from one of Hollywood's own, surely the couple were only trying to help. Maybe they were. But again, Harry and Meghan have killed themselves. They are the ones who have destroyed this, and particularly Meghan. Having opened the doors to their Montecito mansion, to displaced friends, we don't know how true that is. But when it comes to Princess Markle, nothing is straightforward because it isn't, because she has a tenuous relationship with the truth. She has lied on multiple occasions in the very, very public sphere to, I think, concoct an agenda. And people who know what they're talking about or have kept up with things know she's lying. So when she strongly insinuates that the reason her son didn't get a title was because of the color of her skin, that was a lie. I know that was a lie because I know what the letters of patent say, which is that only the grandchildren of the monarch, with the exception of the firstborn son of the Prince of Wales, get royal titles. It was right there. But she let Oprah believe that lie, and she perpetuated that lie. And I mean, it was so easy. I mean, she even admitted it later in the interview. It's like, why did you say that then? It wasn't the color of his skin. It was because he's the son of the spare. And eventually he will be in the royal sphere because this is how all royal families work, largely irrelevant to the monarchy. That's how this works. That's how monarchies work. So that is not anything due to his ethnic heritage, but everything to do with his place in the line of succession. There was not going to be a special, I think, option made for Archie because it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. He won't be a working royal. They wanted them to embrace the Edward and Sophie route, but they didn't want him to be the Earl of Dumbarton. And so they went with the worst option. So let's keep going. Tellingly, despite a raft of A-lister stars helping, it is the Sussexes who are singled out for condemnation, which begs the question, what is it about Meghan? Harry was a little more than a spare thumb in the footage. Yes, people like him infinitely more than they like her, and they don't even like him that much. Meghan has a public reputation problem, and she's not dealing with it well. She needs to have a better communications team, or she needs to actually start listening to them. Otherwise, there's no going back. That proves so triggering. After all, in the midst of this Tinseltown disaster, let's not pretend that the most famous do-gooders aren't on the hunt for positive PR and image enhancement. I would say that's fair. The situation for the couple wasn't helped by the rescheduling of Meghan's ominously entitled With Love Meghan series, which was a terrible name because we know there are certain people that she's supposed to love that she does not. Her in-laws, her family, friends, employees. Now, you're not supposed to really love your employees, but you're supposed to treat them well. We know she doesn't actually do things with love. She does things, a lot of things with vengeance, in my opinion. So, because of that, the title doesn't work. So, it's supposed to premiere Wednesday, a Californian reality docu-series in which I'm not going to call her the princess, which Meghan assures viewers, I've always loved taking something pretty ordinary and elevating it. No, she is not talking about Harry. That is funny. Although he took ordinary her and elevated her because she was pretty ordinary. She was not a Hollywood star by any stretch of the imagination. She is a mid-tier talent at best. It includes sunlit cutaways of a SoCal-styled Meghan meandering through an idyllic kitchen garden, basket in hand, is hardly timely fare for the disaster-stricken American state. But even the predictable postponement, which saw Megan explain that the launch was delayed so we can focus on the needs of those impacted by the wildfires in my home state of California, has been met with cynicism. The new start date of March 4th provides a longer lead in and potentially more attention for her latest production. It appears that the actor come actress can't do right for wrong, and to trawl back beyond the recent fire disaster is to be reminded that it was ever thus. Timing is apparently not Megan's strong point. Getting it wrong is her special skill. Yes, it is. That's 100% correct. She gets it wrong almost every single time. Every single time she gets it wrong. The super stylized retro trailer for the American Riviera Orchard brand, which we don't even know if it'll exist, eclipsed. Oh, yeah. That's when she launched it. Well, eclipsed Harry and Meghan's respective efforts to honor their mothers' Princess Diana Legacy Awards last year. I'm not actually on the bandwagon of that. I personally think she was obsessed with the fact that Where is Kate was trending so much, and she was trying to show her face places and nobody cared in the same way. Catherine disappears and the world goes crazy. While rapturous responses from curated celebrity friends to Meghan's Riviera dog biscuits and jam coincide with the announcement that the Princess of Wales would appear at Tribune the Color despite her cancer diagnosis. Again, it's a timing thing. Meghan is so desperate for publicity, desperate to overshadow her in-laws. She will literally do anything. People catch on to that after a while. One of Meghan Markle's, I think, critical flaws is that she thinks we're stupid. You're not stupid. We remember things. You're not dumb. Don't treat us as if we're dumb. That's a really dumb way. That's a really dumb way to go about doing things. Just really bad. For those less engaged with the minutiae of royal life, this may sound like a curmudgeonly nitpicking, a tiresome bitchiness that follows Meghan around and reveals more about the naysayers than it does about the Duchess. Predictably, the truth is somewhere in the middle. This is where we get to the good stuff. Taken at face value, Meghan's respective efforts at self-promotion and charitable good works are pretty harmless, sometimes even beneficial. I'm sure most residents of the Los Angeles, Altadena, and Pasadena districts were pleased to see the pair on the 10th of January. Sure, maybe, I don't know. In many ways, the couple's little walkabout was reminiscent of the late Queen and Prince William's arrival at the 2017 Grenfell Tower disaster, a timely appearance that upstaged the then Prime Minister Theresa May and went down a storm. But, and it's the but here, there is a key difference. And this is what I've tried to explain before too, but I think she actually says it really well here. William and his grandmother were full-time working royals, engaged in the long-established routine of glad-handing and acknowledging, listening, and platforming in the name of the British state. That is what royals do. Exchange that for Spain, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands. Same thing. That is what royals do. Hurrah for the institution of monarchy, which acts as a block against any institution that its members might be in pursuit of self-gain. As we all know, the royal family have had more than enough. In stark contrast, Harry and Meghan very publicly exited the royal stage to go it alone in 2020. Harry was adamant they would continue to serve, insisting that a life of service did not depend on royal handouts. Crucially, the Sussex formula involved making money to fund a celebrity Montecito lifestyle while maintaining their philanthropic identity, channeled through the Archwell Foundation and various tours, both overseas and now in the fire-stricken districts of LA. In keeping with that philanthropic mission, Meghan and Harry today encourage others to open their homes, which is sort of ridiculous because it's that's no duh. If you have to tell people to be neighborly or to be just general human beings, you're missing something. The Sussex.com website reminding the less initiated that a state of emergency has been issued. The people of California didn't know that. If you feel compelled to help, here are some resources and ideas. It is this hybrid identity that trips up Meghan's efforts at altruism. She's right. First and foremost, she is an actor, a respectfully ambitious woman who made it in a tough industry on her own. Not really, but that's neither here nor there. That primary image is now tempered by a apparent broader queenly desire to be seen as something bigger, more profound, a philanthropic influencer, a community player, and it doesn't wash. And it doesn't work. You can't leave a life of service for selfish greed and expect people to believe you're really about a life of service. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and money. And in Meghan's instance, she can't serve her philanthropic pursuits and money at the same time because they don't work together. You can't be greedily ambitious and at the same time be fully philanthropic. It just doesn't work. They don't cohese. They're antagonists. They're water and oil. They don't work. Plottish Harry could probably get away with a backstabbing, handshaking existence as a modern equivalent of the Duke of Windsor, which he couldn't because he was not a king and the Duke of Windsor was, on the basis that once a prince, always a prince. But Meghan is a harder sell. She married into royalty, but rejected the life that came with it. Much of it is premised on funded philanthropy while opting to keep the Duchess title and do her own thing, pursuing solely money. Everything they've done is a money grab, and then they occasionally put charity on top of it, and it doesn't work. It does not work. However unfair it feels, there will always be a lingering suspicion that Meghan's end goal is not the philanthropic mission, but rather brand Sussex. And I want to point that out. That is it. That is it. No matter how unfair it is, Meghan, because she left the royal family a life of service to serve herself, I would feel like even more than Harry, because we all know she ended up in California because she wanted to end up there. That's where she lived. We know they ended up in Montecito because that's where she wanted to live. Now, I mean, I really truly don't know, but I don't think those would have been Harry's choices. And because of that, she can never, I don't think, be fully trusted to be just wholly charitable just for the sake of charity. People will always wonder if there's an agenda, whether it's PR, whether it's influence, whether it's connections with a political figure. People will always believe that she has an ulterior motive. And that is a problem of her own making. That is a problem of her own making. No one told her that Mexico was a good idea. Kind of like nobody told Harry marrying her was a good idea or dating her was a good idea. Nobody told Harry and Meghan, I'm sure, that Mexico was a good idea. She initiated it. And then every step of the process, they've proved time and time again people's worst assumptions about what they would be outside the royal family, that they are all for selfish gain and nothing else. So even when they do something charitable, even if, let's say, just for the sake of argument, that's fully altruistic, they can't be fully believed because they left a life of true altruism for selfish material gain. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot mix the two together. Meghan, I think, would be a lot better off if she just, instead of trying to portray herself as some deep intellectual and that she really wants to be very charitable and everything, just said she's in it for the money. People would accept that so much more than what she's doing now. What she's doing now is killing her brand, if you could say that. She doesn't or will not have much of a future. And this decision, Mexit, will follow her for the rest of her life because people are always going to wonder if they can ever fully trust her. Because, I mean, even on her wedding day, she might have been scheming Mexit. And when you think about it that way, can you trust anything she's ever done? And this is Meghan's conundrum. She will always be unliked. She will always be unpopular. And she has created this for herself. She has created this conundrum, this toxic tornado herself. And if she wanted to get out of it, there was a way she could do that, but she had to make different decisions. And she was more interested in her own selfish pursuits and getting as much trinket jewelry as possible because it was too little of her to live on a £2+ million a year salary. That was not enough for Meghan Markle. So she had to get her husband to leave so they could sign multi-million-dollar deals to sell out his family so she can make money so she can buy more trinket jewelry. That will always follow her for the rest of her life. Your decisions have consequences. And Meghan will always be darned if she does, darned if she doesn't, because she has set that up for herself. The best thing she can do is hire, I don't know which PR firm, but a different one. Listen to them and maybe, just maybe, she can rehab her image. But Meghan likes control. Meghan doesn't like to listen to the experts because she thinks she is the expert. And because of that, she will always fail because at this point, she's never going to win. She's never going to win the affection of the public the way she did when she started in the monarchy. She had to work in the monarchy. If they wanted to leave, she had to work with them. She can't drop the news the day before Catherine's birthday and not expect consequences for that. They can't go on Oprah Winfrey denigrate his entire family and not pay consequences for that. They can't go on Netflix, talk about his family, disparage them, and not suffer the consequences. Again and again, they make the same decisions and they're trying to course correct a bit, but it's too little, too late. You made your bed, now you have to lie in it, which means for Meghan Markle, who I think really wants to be universally adored, I'm sorry, but that title goes to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And Catherine gains it not because she has this prideful, boastful arrogance that Meghan Markle has, but because she's humble. She goes and she talks to people. She's not really trying to uplift herself, she's trying to uplift others. And she's not in it for her own personal gain in many ways. She obviously loves William, loves her children, respects the monarchy, respects the institution, has done literally everything right. And now, this is not something she planned. She even ended up with cancer. And you kind of can almost become a bit of a martyr because you've gone through this thing. And so Catherine's public reputation is going to always be good. Meghan Markle's reputation will, I think, always be bad. I don't know if she can salvage it. And again, it goes back to her own decision. She's the one who has destroyed her own life in many ways, or the future that she envisioned, because money was more important to her than family, than respecting the country her husband represents, respecting his family, respecting her own family, her employees, so many different things. Her prideful arrogance is her downfall. And we are seeing that play out right now. And I don't know if she'll ever recover. Maybe, but I don't think her show will play well. I don't think she'll get to the place she wants to be. The best thing she can do is find a real job, and maybe, just maybe, she'll find a smidge of success, or at least maybe just admit that she really just wants the money. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you guys all again very, very soon. Bye.